Welcome to Book Time with Ryan. I am Ryan, and I'm using my soothing voice to let you know that this is a safe and accepting place where I want your views and I want your comments. And if you're here for the first time, thank you for coming. And if you're here for the second or third or 10th time, thank you for coming back. I hope that you will continue to come back and view things for as long as they need to be viewed for me to get credit for a view of a video. I was out of town last weekend. We were visiting my family in Maryland on the Eastern Shore, and I was excited to do some clips outside in the sunshine, and then it ended up raining 2 out of 3 days, which is when I filmed. So if you haven't seen that video, I did do some stuff outside, and my glasses were covered in water, and it was windy and it was nasty out. But next time, hopefully the weather will be better and I can film outside next to the water and the sunshine and the air and the nature, whatever. So I wasn't able to do that. I did find out a couple things over the weekend. The good thing was I was able to visit one of my favorite. I got a haircut. A number of my hairs were cut, and that's a dad joke. I'm sorry. And so after I got my haircut, I went to my favorite bookstore, which is called Unicorn Books. It's outside of Easton, Maryland. And usually we drive through there, and I have to, kind of manage my time quickly because we have a dog and a toddler in the car, and my wife doesn't want to sit for an extra hour when we're going to drive for hours. But this time I went after my haircut, and there was no rush, so I was able to spend like an hour and a half in there looking at books, which I really enjoyed. I bought one book, which I talked about in my last video. I also found out that, so I'm waiting for a Folio Society edition of Ray Bradbury's Something Wicked This Way Comes. I'm excited about that because I don't have any Folio Society books yet. So this will be my first one. It's coming from the UK, so for anybody who's watching from the UK, thank you for supporting Folio Society in your country. But the bad thing was I found out, so I had seen on Facebook that there was an ad for Easton Press, and I don't have a whole lot. I have 2 books from Easton Press, and I have one from Franklin Library. So that's really the extent of my leather-bound kind of fancy versions of books that I have. I don't have anything against them. I just don't really have many of them. But I saw an Easton Press first edition signed copy of John le Carré's Agent Running in the Field, which I was excited about because I love John le Carré. And it's his last book before he died. And it's the last book that includes one of my favorite characters in all books, George Smiley. So I decided to throw down the $115 or $20 or whatever it was for the book, and I was okay with that. Then I realized there weren't any updates coming, so eventually I called Easton Press in Norwalk, Connecticut, and I asked them what the deal was because I couldn't track it. And basically what happened was they don't have it in stock. They don't have that book anymore. So somehow I accessed the website in a way that I shouldn't be able to do, and was able to find, residual ad for that. I don't really know. And I was able to order it. I got a confirmation email that I ordered it. It just never went all the way through. So I ended up not having to pay for it, but it would have been nice to have that book. I have Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, and I have Smiley's People, both first editions, first printings from the UK from 1974 and 1980. And they both contain one of my favorite characters, George Smiley. Smiley's People is really out of the 3 Carla Chronicle books, which are Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, Honorable Schoolboy, and Smiley's People. I think Smiley's People is my favorite. It's just the book where George Smiley really is in his element and kind of comes back with some force. So George Smiley's a cool dude. So that's not going to happen, which was sad. The other thing I figured out is I still don't know how to edit my videos. I edited the last video I did on my cell phone. I just did a number of smaller clips. It was a shorter video. But, we're going to go over it the whole weekend with my dad, but we ended up using the last hour or 30 minutes I was there to to try to figure out what was going on with the disk space issue on my MacBook Pro, and we didn't figure it out. So we've watched a lot of videos on how to clear it out and make it work, but it's not doing that, and I don't know what's wrong with it. So today, what I'm going to do is, I already started this video once, and I got a political contribution call in the middle of that, which kind of pissed me off, especially because it's almost 9:30. Why are they calling this late? But what I'm going to do is, I'm still reading noise. It's taking me a long time. I read a couple of graphic novels today and yesterday to get kind of caught up with those. But what I'm going to do is 20 questions book tag. I'm doing the 20 questions book tag. And I'll put this down in the description so you can do it too. I believe the last question says, who would you tag? And apparently everyone just says, if you like this, tag yourself. So if you like this, tag yourself. I don't want to obligate you to do it. But there's 20 questions, and hopefully you will enjoy this. Also, before I start, I started an Instagram page specifically for my booktube stuff, and it's called Ryan's Really Rare Books. Ryan's, there's no B, it's just Ryan, not a Brian. Ryan's Really Rare Books, and it's on Instagram, and I'm going to post my rare books. So that's pretty straightforward. Some of them are not really rare, but all the ones that I'm posting are generally rare. So, alrighty, I've watched one person do this. It's the 20 questions book tag. I will include the 20 questions. I'm not 100% sure where it came from. But here we go. Number 1, how many books are too many for a series? I don't know. It's a great way to start out. I don't know. Next one. I don't know. The problem that I have is I don't know if I've really read series. A lot of the books I read have recurring characters. I talked about John le Carré just a few seconds ago. The character John Smiley pops up in different books over years and decades of books. They're all in the same universe. They all happen, or there could be some overlap with characters, but it's not necessarily a series. Now, I think generally the series I've read are 3 books. They can be longer than that, I think. Ted Bell books, those all kind of relate to each other. I don't know if it counts as a series, if it's just the same character, or how that works. So I don't have a problem with super long series. I just need them to relate to the other series books enough that I can pick up where I am. And it's helpful to know where to start. If something's been going on for so long that the first book in the series is a little dated, that can be a little, off-putting, but that's fine. It's not my call. I'm okay if I like the book. I don't care how many are in the series. Just keep them pumping. All right, how do you feel about cliffhangers? I saw that movie recently because that has Sylvester Stallone, right? And everyone used to say he had really giant armpits in that movie, and I don't know. It doesn't seem like they're that much bigger than normal. But as far as book cliffhangers go, I'm cool with that. I read graphic novels, and a lot of graphic novels are done in parts. They may be done in 6 or 12 comic book collections in the trade or hardback collections, and those are kind of cliffhangers because you're just left waiting for the next group of the collection to come back, and that can be a little painful because it's nice just to have a pace and stay on it, but I have no problem with cliffhangers. I want resolution. I think there are certain books that benefit from cliffhangers. I think spy novels are great for cliffhangers as long as there's some kind of resolution later in a later book. Detectives and thriller books are good for that. There are some of the squishy, touchy-feely ones. Those don't have to be cliffhangers. I don't think you get a whole lot of that. I don't need a cliffhanger, but I'm okay with a cliffhanger, I guess is what I'm saying. Which is basically saying I'm okay with everything. So, how do I feel about cliffhangers? I have nothing against them, and I am not in their corner either. Hardbacks or paperback? Or hardcovers or paperback? It depends. If it's a nice book, if it's a book that generally, if you're going to collect a book, you're collecting the hardcover. If it exists, there are some collectible rare books that don't have hardcovers, although they're rare. For me, I think The Secret, the Treasure Hunt book, that only came in paperback, or at least initially came in paperback. So you don't have a lot of options there. I prefer hardcovers if it's a book that I really, really like, that I want to keep and collect or whatever it is like that. But if it's something that it's really more about using it to read, just to read, then paperbacks are much more convenient. So yeah, I'm okay with either, but I think collecting hardcover, reading casually paperback is probably the best. As far as like someone wrote on this, I struggle with the dust jacket. I agree with that. There are hardcovers. There are some hardcovers that don't have dust jackets, but the worst thing is like when you have a hardcover and either it gets oily because you're eating something while you're reading it, which I don't know. There's especially those hardcovers that the dust jacket's kind of rubbery feeling. I don't know what that material is, but it definitely shows, kind of smudges a lot more. And ripping dust jackets is just the worst. So if I'm in bed, I probably take the dust jacket. If I'm in bed, I probably take the dust jacket off, just because there's so many opportunities to rip it when it's kind of sliding against your sheets or your shirt or whatever. But generally, I keep it on. And probably prefer paperbacks if I'm just learning while I'm reading. They're certainly lighter. Favorite book? That is a hard one. I don't. That's hard to narrow down. I'll tell you that probably my two favorite authors are Ted Bell and John le Carré. There's so many books in John le Carré's kind of lineup that I love. I think Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy was the first, which I really loved, and I like the movies. I like the movie with was it John Hurt, and I like the series with Alec Guinness, Sir Alec Guinness, I believe. But I think out of his books, I really love Smiley's People, which I guess there was a movie too. I never saw it. And for Ted Bell's books, really the book that got me back into reading was Pirate. And that was probably back in 2007 or 2006. But I'm a fictional character in my name. I'm a SEAL, a Navy SEAL, in my fictional life. And Phantom by Ted Bell. And having your name in one of your favorite author's books as a fictional character is really cool. So that's got to be up there. There are a number of books that I appreciate for different things. As far as my life goes, and our daughter, who is half Uruguayan, half American. I mean, she's both. She's all Uruguayan and all American. She's dual citizen. The book, The Purple Land That England Lost, is really meaningful to me. And then I think just one of the coolest books I have is White Collar Crime, the unexpurgated carbon copy typescript that I have. That's the rarest book I have. So I just have so many books that I like, but and different tastes. I mean, I think a book that really stands out for me is Dan Simmons' Carry Comfort. And I really want you to read that book, and I want you to tell me what you thought. I really want you to read that book, Carry Comfort, and other Dan Simmons books. I guess Dan Simmons is one of my favorites too. Hyperion and Endymion. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but I love those books. Least favorite book. It is... My least favorite book is Trust Me, I'm Lying by Ryan Holiday. And I guess he's doing a book called The Daily Stoic and whatever, a million different Stoics. I'm in public affairs, I deal with public relations. The book was recommended to me in a grad school class, and I read it and I hated it. I didn't finish it. I hated it so much that I threw it away. I didn't even give it away. I think I actually threw it in the trash. I didn't like his portrayal of communications. I thought he was really unethical in what he was doing in his book. I thought he was just kind of a pig and disgusting from what I had read, or the way he was described in his own book. And I didn't like it. and I won't read any of his books. And that's probably the book that I consciously did not finish because I hated it. And I don't know who liked it, who recommended it in grad school, but it was, in my opinion, horrible. There are other books that I think are dry and hard to get through, but that was... All right, number 6, love triangles, yes or no? I would say I would not like to be in a love triangle. And I think, generally, with characters that I read in books, I want them to do the right thing. They don't always... Often, they don't do the right thing. And I rarely... I believe love triangles are rarely the right thing. I think they're certainly messier than not having a love triangle. And there's always one part of that triangle that probably is getting it's probably not an equilateral triangle, right? It's all over the place, and one person's feeling shortchanged. So I would say no to love triangles. I know it's used in some things. I know it adds some excitement, but if you like the characters that you're reading about, you want them to do the right thing, and not get stuck in something that's messy. So, although I realize that we like to stare at train wrecks, and maybe that's why there are so many love triangles in books. I'd also say that a lot of the books I read don't have love triangles. Certainly economics books don't typically have love triangles. Most recent book you couldn't finish. The most recent book you couldn't finish. I don't think I really have that. So there are... Right now I have 3 books that I'm currently reading or in someplace in it. Noise is one of them. That's the one where I'm actively reading. There's a graphic novel about Captain Carrot. It's a DC comic. That's kind of on hold. I'm like 15 or 20% through that. And then there's a very dry, although academic book called Inequality and Instability. And that one I am 15% into. And I am going to finish them. These are 2 books that I will finish. I generally don't like not finishing. But those are currently my not finished, not read. But that'll change. I think if I bought the book, then I'm going to read it at some point as long as I can. Now, some of those books kind of get moved down my timeline as I get newer books that I'm more interested in. But if I buy it, I should read it, or at least look through it. If it's in a language I don't know. So I guess I don't really have one that I couldn't finish. I just haven't finished them yet. And that's only 3 books. I can't read them all at the same time either. I have to read one at a time. So I just slowed down on some of them because it got a little slow, a little boring. All right, number 8, a book you're currently reading. Well, I just said that. I guess I should have read one ahead. I'm reading Noise, A Flaw in Human Judgment by Daniel Kahneman. Olivier Sibony, and Cass Sunstein. I'm reading Captain Carrot, and which is a comic book, and I am reading Inequality and Instability, which is an economics book. Actively reading, though, only Noise at this point. The last book you recommended to someone, jeez, I think I consistently recommend Hyperion. The 4 books related to Hyperion, and Carry Comfort. I really want people to read Carry Comfort. Please read Carry Comfort. Please read it and tell me what you think. I need other people to engage with that book. I loved that book. It's dark. It's kind of a horror thriller. It's so layered and twisty, and I love everything about it. I have 2 copies of it. I have a copy I read. It's pretty beat up, and then I have a special edition that's signed by Dan Simmons. I love that book. That's what I will constantly recommend to anyone. 10. The oldest... I'm only half of the way through. I need to speed up, huh? Oldest book you've read by publication date. By publication date... I don't know. I will tell you the oldest book I've read that I own, as in the copy is the oldest, is The Purple Land that England Lost, and that was published in 1885. I'm sure there are books that I've read. I mean, the Bible's, that's pretty old. I haven't read the whole thing. But as far as the actual book that I hold in my hands, the oldest one that I've read is 1885, Purple Land that England Lost. I know there are some classics that we probably read in high school or college, and they're just not, popping out of me. And obviously there's some Greek stuff that we've read, but I don't think that counts. Newest book you've read by publication date. Noise. Noise is the newest. This came out 2 weeks ago, I think. I don't know what the publication date was, but it was whatever 2 weeks ago 2 weeks ago today, since they are put on the bookshelves on Tuesdays in this country. So, Noise. Noise would be the most recent one. Favorite author. I'm going to go with 3 favorite authors. Ted Bell is a friend who put me in two of his books, and I've engaged with since we first met, and we traveled around Combatant Command with Department of Defense. So I like Ted Bell. I like his books, and I really appreciate how much he's kind of engaged me. John le Carré is one of my very favorites too, and Dan Simmons. I think an honorable mention would go to Don Winslow, but I think those 3 that I mentioned are probably the top for me. There's one other author that I like one of his books. I haven't read any other ones, and that is Tom Wolfe, because I love The Bonfire of the Vanities. I love that book. That's another one I would recommend. So we'll just say the 3 though: Ted Bell, John le Carré, and Dan Simmons. Those are my 3 favorite. Buying books or borrowing books? Buying books. I don't know the last time I borrowed a book. I know through my work I was able to borrow a couple books from the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. That's kind of makes me nervous to do that, because if I lose it, it's kind of on my employer's head. But one of the books I have now, I purchased later, but when I read it, it was checked out from the Library of Congress. It's just hard to find, and the next book I read was really hard to find. I didn't actually finish that one, but I don't like feeling indebted to people by holding onto their books and possibly losing them. So if I like a book or I'm interested in the book, I'll probably buy it. A book you dislike that everyone seems to love. I don't know. The thing that I've been finding on BookTube is I'm not reading a whole lot of the same books as people. I would say a book that I haven't read and don't plan to read that people seem to love is Harry Potter. I watched the movies when they came out. 2 of them. I watched the first one and the last one. And I have no idea what's going on. But I think I need more sex and violence and blood in my fantasy books like that. Like a Game of Thrones. I haven't read Game of Thrones either. I felt like I was probably too late to that party. Actually, when I first watched Game of Thrones, I thought it was a historical piece until I saw the dragon eggs, and then I thought, okay, this is not England that we're looking at here, medieval England. This is something else. So I think it would be Harry Potter, and I don't know if I would like it. It's too late. It's too late for me to do that, and it's just a bunch of kids with magic, and I don't know. I think there needs to be more death. So, sorry if you like it. I think like everyone on BookTube has their Harry Potter collections, and I don't, and I won't. Bookmarks or dog ears? This is question number 15. Bookmarks, generally. This is my very special bookmark. My wife gave this to me, I think it was my first or second Father's Day, and it's from my daughter, Noelia, and it says, "Looking forward to all of our adventures together. I love you, Daddy." It's leather. It's hardy. I love that bookmark. I'm always worried that I'm going to lose it if I'm on the train going to work. If it is a trade paperback, or just something I'm kind of reading for work or for knowledge, and it's not a hardcover, I'm fine dogging the ears. But with nice books, comic books with thicker paper, and hardcovers, I I generally will use bookmark. Now the bookmark that I showed you, that's a little thicker too. So if it's something that I feel like having a really thick bookmark near the binding is going to mess with the binding at all, then I'll also use paper. I have tons of paper bookmarks that just came with different books I've ordered. So that's always a backup. And if it's if it's a thinner book, I'll probably go with a paper bookmark too. But my go-to bookmark is my leather one for my daughter. Number 16, a book you can always reread. I don't reread books. I'm a very slow reader. I've said this before, but I have dyslexia. Every book is, and not necessarily a challenge, but every book is kind of like a triumph once I read it. So I feel the need to read new stuff and kind of expand my horizons. Now I have my books that I've read, and I have referred back to some of those books, but I've never completely reread them. And there are books that I would want to. Care and Comfort would be one of them that I think I'd like to read again, just because it's been so long and I loved it so much. But there's nothing like reading a book and then realizing you've already read it, and you didn't realize that it was something you'd read. That's a little depressing to me. So, if I did reread something, I think it would be Care and Comfort, but I don't do that typically. I just refer to them when I need to. Especially my business, finance, and economics books. Number 17, can you read while listening to music? Yes, kind of. I'm not only dyslexic, I'm an ADD, and that means it can be hard to focus on reading if I'm out in public or things are going on around me. So I find that classical piano music really helps out. That's what I listen to while I'm working when I can, and that's typically what I'll be listening to down here in my study when I read in my kind of little reading chair over there. I did listen to Muse, the last 3 songs of one of the Muse CDs when I was reading Care and Comfort, and it kind of ruined those songs because now they're very creepy because I associate those songs with the book. And if that book ever became a movie, I'd want those to be in the soundtrack. But as far as reading and what I choose to read, it would be classical music, and especially on a train before noise canceling headphones, I needed something to help me focus. So that's what I used, or not necessarily focus, but drown out all the stuff that would distract me. But I can't listen to other stuff. It's really got to be something that's toned down and kind of background soothing. One POV or multiple. One point of view or multiple points of view. That's question number 18. Multiple points of view are fine. I like movies like Crash or Traffic, and I like those different points of view and how they weave together in a way that it all comes together at one point, and you really see how each little moving part had a role in the larger story. So I like multiple points of view. I'm not against one point of view. I read both, but I guess I don't really feel strongly about it either way. I'm fine with either. I do like what you can do with multiple points of view and kind of layering of stories that is harder, I think, with one point of view. Number 19, do you read a book in one setting or over multiple days? Dyslexic, so over multiple days, sometimes multiple weeks, with the exception of comic books, graphic novels. Those are a little bit easier. They're really shorter, the reading part of it, the wording. So I think I would typically be able to read one of those especially if they're the thinner ones, over one sitting or at least one day. But for a regular book, multiple days definitely. And number 20, who do you tag? I'm not going to tag anybody specifically. I've tagged people before, and I feel like it obligates them, or there's some pressure for them to follow through with the tag. So if you've watched this all the way through and you'd like to do something like this, please consider yourself tagged and do it, because I'd love to hear what you have to say. So that's really all today with this, because I'm reading so slow. There's not a whole lot of updates with the book, but now you have a little more idea of kind of my outlook. And again, if you haven't, please check out, and you're on Instagram. I'll tell you, I hate Instagram. But if you do have Instagram, check out Ryan's Rare. Check out Ryan's Rare. That's not what it's called either. Check out Ryan's Very Rare Books on Instagram, and that's where I'll be posting. I'm posting a couple a day, maybe just to spread them out a little bit. But there's some really rare stuff in there. Some cool things. I try to provide a little bit of the background, a little bit of a story with each one. So I think that's it today. Thanks for being here. I hope to figure out how to edit this stuff soon. I am going to add a little card or whatever to the front so I can add a graphic. I know how to do that. I just can't edit the rest of the video. So thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you later.